Howdy guys and gals, welcome back to the Social Regressive. Lately we're taking a much bigger interest in the lethality of some of these projectiles that we've been using, largely because of a hog hunt that we did a while back, where we were pumping round after round of BTHP match into these hogs, and they just were not dropping. They would kind of stagger a little bit and then keep on going, and we had to track them down into the brush to finish them off. It was actually pretty dangerous for us, and it was, certainly not so pleasant for the hogs, so we're going to start stepping things up a little bit. Now, first off, we are working up 350 Legend and 458 SOCOM for these hunts in the future. Those are definitely going to pack a gigantic wallop, especially within 200 yards. That last hunt was at about 120 yards, out to about 150, 180, somewhere in there as they started to run away. But yeah, we're still kind of assuming that we'll have some closer distances, and I think that we can get increased lethality out of some 224 diameter bullets. So we're going to continue with 223 Remington and see what we can do to kind of step things up. In the last video, we checked out the 55 grain Speer gold dot. You guys know about the gold dot pistol bullets. They really are kind of the gold standard for defensive loads. They always seem to do a great job of mushrooming out and making a good hit, kind of no matter what they're shot through, any kind of velocity. They just seem to do a really good job, and it looks like the new rifle bullets are going to do the same thing. We're going to be testing out a good handful of these. So today, the 62 grain Speer gold dot is a good step up from that 55. You can see in terms of ballistic efficiency, this is a little bit of a different bullet shape. That last one had a kind of a hollow base. This one has that great same shape up here at the nose, but then on the back, we actually have a rebaited boat tail, a lot like what you get on Chi-Tac bullets, and this cuts through the air quite well. But the important part is what it does when it hits, and that's what we're going to be testing out today. The 55s did wonderfully, as you can see right back here. We do have this beautiful path cut almost from the beginning of the entry all the way this long distance, and then finally coming to rest way back here at 14.5 inches. I mean, that's not a huge amount of penetration, but that's exactly what I'm after. I want this to dump its energy as early as possible inside the hog. The powder that we're using is Alliance 2000 MR, which is shaping up to be a wonderful powder. This is doing really well in 223 so far, and we're going to test some other cartridges with it. The 62 grain gold dot splits the difference between the 55 and the 75 quite nicely, actually with most of its performance seeming to favor the higher end. You can see that instead of the 14 inches, the leading edge of this projectile at 100 yards, this is the 62 grain gold dot, this is coming in at about 18.75 inches. And I can feel this just below the surface of the gel right here. This one did take a kind of a downward turn, but just look at that. It has mushroomed wonderfully. And we have quite a large wound channel going on here. Okay, so here's kind of the thin part heading back. And then here is the main. So this one does start to open up very quickly. We're looking again at about, an inch and a quarter as it starts to open up. And then it becomes quite wide. And this continues to be nice and wide until we get to about 9 inches. It starts to flatten out a little bit. It flares out again. It looks like It almost looks like it tumbled just a little bit, but we kind of have a secondary wound channel going on right here. You can see that it's pretty two-dimensional just along one of the axes where it's cutting through. But yeah, we kind of get this secondary one that goes on for about 3 inches and then settles down and ends up right here. Just like the 55 grain gold dot, we're looking at about a 1-inch wound channel as far as width goes, and that does last for quite a few inches. And you can see all the soot in there from when this struck and kind of dumped all its energy, vaporized whatever this material is made out of. It's like a splat ball, and detonated it. And you can see the light in the slow-mo. So yeah, this one begins at about that 3/4 inch mark, and it flares out pretty much to that full inch mark as far as width goes. And then this one just keeps on going, and it finally settles down. We're at about 12.5 inches in. This is a beautiful wound channel going through here, and this is demonstrating that, okay, not all hits are going to be exactly the same, and this one should perform pretty well at some of the longer distances. As you can see, our 62 grain gold dot has mushroomed gorgeously. This is huge, and just looking at it, it seems like it's bigger across than the 55s. We came in at about 4 3/4, I think about 480 thousandths across as a maximum width on the 55. And with this one, we're looking at 483. Oh yeah, 495. Yeah, we're looking at about 495 thousandths across, so we are almost at a 1/2 inch. It has more than doubled its diameter, and that's pretty impressive. Let's see what the 200-yard one looks like. This has mushroomed quite a bit more than what we got with the 55 grain. Let's see what kind of... So we're looking at 435 thousandths, 425. Yeah, it looks like 435 is our maximum dimension. So if you want to get those hogs, coyotes, or deer at some of those longer distances, I think this one's going to be a little bit of a better match. I think that overall the 55s are going to be a little better for home defense, since that's going to actually come to rest a little bit sooner in the gel. It's going to dump all its energy a little bit more quickly and come to rest. But I think this one's going to be better for those hunting scenarios. Let's see how much metal we lost at 100 yards. This was a 62 grain bullet. It's now 61.6, so it may have sheared off just a little bit from the tips of some of the petals. Not a big deal. And then at 200 yards, 61.3. So yeah, we may have lost just a tiny bit. There could be some variation in the original weights of these bullets. I will say one thing. This was a little bit harder to get on target than some of the others. This is the one that I had the biggest difficulty actually hitting the target with. You can see my test group for this day. I did have what seemed to be good ballistics worked up on this. The velocities overall were actually quite tight, so we're looking at a mean of 2638 feet per second, and then a standard deviation of velocity of less than 12. So that's actually looking quite tight on these. And, you know, I did a Satterlee kind of load up, but this one was a little bit wonky when I was shooting it. It was kind of going all over the place in the Satterlee test, and it was kind of tough to tell which one of these that I should grab. Based on velocities, it looks like I nailed one pretty well, but its precision here on paper, as you can see, is quite a bit larger than some of these others, just, you know, across both axes. This looks like it's about the same height as the 55 grain gold dots, which, I mean, heck, it's still coming in less than 2 inches at 100 yards, which is going to be quite nice, you know, for this kind of lighter weight AR that we have. Yeah, we're looking at about 2 inches there, and this one's going across both ways, but this was the hardest one to make that
the hit width out at those distances, so I did have to take quite a few shots to get on target. I'm going to continue to work this up, and I'm going to see if I can maybe change some of the things about this. Maybe I can use a little bit of a different powder, or maybe I can change my my overall length, put the bullet in a little bit further, push it out a little bit further, and see if I can start to tighten this up just a little bit. But as you can see, it's totally functional. But as far as some of the others go, this one was the one that kind of opened up the most. In the next video, we'll take a look at the 75s. These did perform very well in the gel, and they also did turn in some very good groups. So we're going to check that out in the next one and see exactly how these did. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you can see when new videos come out. Especially hit that notification bell because YouTube is trying very hard to suppress the content that we have coming out here. And that's probably your best bet to be able to find out when we release new videos. Thank you to everybody that has made these videos possible. Thank you to Speer for sending the bullets to play with. Thank you to patrons of the Destructive Arts. If anybody else wants to chip in $1 or $2 a month to keep these kind of tests coming, remember that we have 350 Legend and 458 SOCOM coming up. Yeah, if you just can chip in $1 or $2, then you can help us out here. Thank you to Sportsman's Guide and Stan and Mary at the 338 Lapua Magnum level, and Joseph Davies and Peter at the 300 Win Mag level. You guys rock. I'll see you guys around.
Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. Even if you didn't like this particular content, go ahead and subscribe. There's probably something coming that's more up your alley. Check out this playlist right here. This is going to have videos in a similar vein to what you just watched. These 2 videos we cherry-picked for you. And finally, The Social Regressive is on Patreon. So you can become a patron of the Destructive Arts and earn some goodies while helping us to provide high-quality videos just by kicking us a few bucks a month. Thanks a bunch for your patronage.